Sitting in a car or working at a desk for long hours, there's nothing better than this shoulder hamstring opening stretch, one of my absolute favourites. Finding a wall or a fence, place your palms securely on the surface and walk your feet back so that your hips form a 90-degree angle, feet hip width apart, allowing your chest to float down in between your shoulders on a deep exhalation. Tilt your tailbone up towards the sky and feel the incredible extension down the back of your legs as you feel the tension release from your shoulders and neck. Relaxing down on your mat or towel, roll your lower back out, soles of the feet together, knees out wide, and bringing your palms onto your stomach, letting the middle fingers touch over the navel as a useful technique to find your breath. Begin breathing in through the nose, exhaling out through the nose, switching on your parasympathetic nervous system to relax your mind and bring it into the present. As you inhale, visualize your breath going in through the nose, past your neck, chest and shoulders, where we tend to hold on to our breath when we're feeling stressed, anxious or tired, and deep into the belly, activating your diaphragm. As you inhale, your middle fingers will drift slightly apart, and as you exhale, the fingers will come back to touch. Focus on this sense of touch to keep your mind focused on what you are doing. For me, the reason I want to keep my mind present is to first and foremost avoid injury. Being aware of how far to take each pose while still challenging my mind and body, allowing me to get the most out of my practice. On your next inhalation, bring the knees together, hugging them into the chest to release the lower back. Knees still bent, taking the feet and knees to the edges of the mat, arms out wide, shoulder height. Inhale to prepare and exhale to drift the knees over to the right, looking to your left to complete the twist. Bring right foot onto your left knee to form a hip flexor stretch on the left side of the body. Starting your mornings with a twist is a lovely way to energize the body as you stimulate the nervous system that runs down the spine, activating the nerve cells in your body to energize the body. Inhale, bring the head back to center first, followed by your knees. Exhale, take the knees to the left, gaze to your right, bringing your left foot onto your right knee. Noticing tension release from your lower back in these twists as we increase the circulation to this part of the body. Again, twists are my go-to after a long flight. Inhale, head back to center, followed by the knees. Finding your strap or using a towel if you don't have a strap and bringing it around the ball of your right foot as you straighten your left leg along the ground. Keeping the left foot active by flexing the toes back towards your shin. Walk your hands up the straps so that your arms are straight and active. And as you exhale, allow the shoulders to relax down towards the mat, leveraging your toes up and overhead to give your hamstrings room to stretch out. If there's any tension behind your right knee joint, put a slight bend in the knee. The lower back should feel protected and supported. Straps come into your left hand. Inhale to prepare, and as you exhale, use the breath to take your right foot over to the left as you gaze to the right. Now stretching our pirifomis that when tight can cause buttock pain and irritate the nearby sciatic nerve that can create numbness and tingling along the back of the leg and into the foot. Inhale, bring the head back to center, followed by your foot. Hug the knees into the chest, and let's work onto your left side now. Where are you feeling this pose? Is it in your hamstring or your calf muscle? Adapt the pose to suit you, knowing that every day you practice yoga is different depending on whether you've just been for a run or stepped away from your desk. Bring the straps into your right hand and using your exhalation to come into the piriformis stretch. Take your foot to the right, gaze to the left. Bringing the foot back to center as you inhale, working with your own breath and hugging the knees back into the chest as you put your strap to one side. Straightening your legs into the air, arms alongside you, palms face down. A bend in the knees if there is any tightness in your lower back. Push into your hands to lift your hips into the air, taking your feet up and overhead into halasana, plow pose. Keeping your hands on your lower back if your feet don't touch the ground. A fabulous stretch for the lower back and hamstrings. Press the back of your head gently into the mat to protect your neck. Bring the arms back alongside you for support as you roll up gently and with control into Paschimottanasana, a seated forward fold. Hands alongside you, inhale to lift and lengthen through the crown of the head, creating space between the vertebrae of the spine, and exhale to come into the pose, hinging at the hips. Like a door hinge closing, keep your spine straight and in a line to ensure that there is no pressure in your lower back. The sole movement is coming from the hips. Flex your toes back towards your shins to keep the hamstrings active. Keep the integrity of the pose, bringing your stomach onto your legs first, followed by your chest and finally your forehead. Keep lifting up and out of the hips, chest open, gaze forward, rather than sinking down in this pose. Lift up and find space to give you room to come down even further. I love resisting the temptation to hold on to my shins or feet when initially coming into the pose, as this can encourage rounding through the spine. The hamstring muscles run through the back of each thigh from the hip down to the back of the knee. They work hand in hand and need to be stretched accordingly. Inhale to lift out of the pose. Crossing your ankles behind you, roll onto your hands and your knees and lift up into downward facing dog. Pedaling out your feet to stretch the calf muscles. Neck relaxed, shoulders down away from the ears, feet hip width apart, increasing blood flow to the brain to help with memory and concentration. Exhale as you walk your hands back towards the feet. Bring your entire forearm down the length of your calf muscle to assist closing the gap between your stomach and your legs. If you have tight hamstrings, put a slight bend in the knee to avoid rounding through your lower back. As you tilt your tailbone high and bring the weight forward into your toes to increase the hamstring stretch. Neck completely relaxed. Plant your right fingertips underneath your face, straighten through your left leg and put a bend in your right knee as you inhale your left hand into the air. Work your left hip back and down to feel the pirifomis stretch, switching it over to the other side. Release into Uttanasana, your forward fold, and then rolling up slowly like a rag doll to standing. Head is the last thing to come up. A few shoulder rolls at the top. Hands on your hips as we work into a standing balance. Plant the weight of your right foot evenly into the ground and put a slight bend in the knee. Bend your left knee and place the left foot on your right knee, hinging into a forward fold. Keep the lower back straight and relax the left knee further towards the mat to deepen the glute stretch. Notice the heat building in the body as you work every muscle to hold this position. For those who would like another challenge, coming into an arm balance by resting your left shin on your triceps. Look forward, weight forward to avoid rolling. Gently lifting out of the pose with control to tone and strengthen the ankle, knee and hip joints, coming out the way you came in. Let's work onto the other side. Left foot stable, bring the right ankle onto the left knee. If an arm balance isn't for you today, remembering that every day on the yoga mat is different, then stay in your standing balance and work with the level of the pose that is going to benefit you. Lifting out of the pose with control to avoid injury and noticing the sensation in your standing ankle. Perfect low impact ankle strengthening for runners and walkers. Let's step the left foot forward, half a leg width distance from the right foot, and remember to focus on those big deep breaths when the wind decides to pick up your mat in the middle of practice. The gorgeous breeze on my face and the picturesque ambience of an outdoor studio overrides the occasional wind gust. Block to the outside of your left foot on one of its 3 heights. Come back to standing and choose an arm variation. Hands on the hips, holding onto opposite elbows or reverse Anjali mudra, palms touching in between the shoulder blades. Inhale to prepare and exhale to come forward into the forward fold, being aware if the spine starts to round, melting over your left leg. Putting a bend in your left knee if there's any tension behind the knee joint. Release the hands and inhale to halfway lift, finding space between the vertebrae of the spine. And exhale over your left leg, encouraging your hamstring and spine to lengthen in unison. Stay in your forward fold and bring the right palm onto the block, left palm lower back. Remove the block if your palm can come flat to the mat. Inhale, look down, and you have the option to stay here, or exhale and open the chest to the left, tucking your chin in to look up to the sky, strengthening your neck muscles. If there is any tension in your neck, look down. Reach the left hand high, lifting up and out of the pose as you reach through the left fingers. Exhale, hand gaze to the ground. Holding the block in your right hand, let's windmill the arms up and overhead, setting up for your reverse triangle pose on the other side. Right foot forward, left foot back at a 45-degree angle. Inhale, open through the shoulders. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Use every exhalation to go further into the pose, evening the hips so that if a tray of tea was placed on your hips, it would not spill. Bringing the left hip back and down in this instance by bringing the weight slightly forward into your front foot. Left palm to the block or the ground, right palm on your lower back. Inhale and extend through the crown of the head. Exhale to open the heart to the right, reaching your right fingertips to the sky. We're forward folding, twisting, balancing, inverting and stretching the hamstrings, glute and pirifomis and shoulder. So there's a lot going on right now. As you release, keep a hold of the block with your left hand and windmill back to the front of your mat, putting the block to one side. Wiggle out the toes, stretch out the torso, and then coming into Tadasana, mountain pose. Inhale to reach the arms high, exhale, forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift, exhale, Uttanasana. Step your right foot to the outside of your left foot, toes in line with one another, feet firmly planted. Inhale to halfway lift and exhale to forward fold. Perhaps bend the knees slightly and bring the weight forward to make sure you are feeling this in your right piriformis. Inhale to release. Exhale to bring the left foot to the outside of your right. Another adaptation here is to interlace the fingers behind your back and take the arms up and overhead to release any lingering tension in the shoulders and the neck. Hands back to the body, down to the ground. Realign the feet hip width apart. Notice how I'm putting a little bend in my knees. This is to protect my lower back from rounding due to my tight hamstrings. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to step or jump back to a high plank. Inhale and holding the tailbone under, feel the core ignite. Exhale, come through chaturanga, elbows close to the torso. If you're coming into upward facing dog, don't drop any lower than elbow height. Inhale into your back bend, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale together, downward facing dog. Inhale to raise the right leg high, bend the knee, heel to buttocks, opening up the hip to the right. Keep the weight even in the shoulders. Exhale as you step the foot between the hands. Rotate your toes to the right so you can come onto the outside blades of both feet. Plant your left hand and reach the right hand towards your back foot. Sink the hips, feel your pirifomis and glute stretch, and then inhale back to your low lunge. Drop the back knee, tuck your tailbone under, and draw the lower rib cage in. Work the abdominal muscles, and on your next exhalation, bring the hips forward to find your left hip flexor. In your own breath, exhale the hands to the ground, wriggling your back toes away from you. Drop the back knee, flex the right toes towards the shin to activate the hamstring. As you inhale to lengthen and exhale to forward fold. Keep the hips aligned and parallel with one another. Inhale to lift up, tuck the back toes under and right leg lifts back and up. Three-legged dog. Inhale forward to a high plank. Exhale through chaturanga. Inhale back bend. In cobra, lift the hands off the mat to allow the back muscles to strengthen. Exhale, downward facing dog. Make each movement last the entirety of your breath, starting the breath before each movement to assist with your flow. Inhale to reach the left foot high. Open up through the hips. Exhale, step the foot forward, making sure the knee is not coming over the ankle. Support your ankle joint. Let the toes drift over to the left. Plant the right hand. Reach your left hand back as you tuck your chin in and sink those hips to find the full extension of the pose. Inhale back to your low lunge. Drop the back knee, stretching out the hip flex on the right side of the body. Working your left knee out to the sides. If you could push your hips past your knee. Release. Lift your right knee and take your right toes away. Drop the knee again and coming into your variation of Hanumanasana, monkey pose. Keep the mind present. The best gift you can give yourself in yoga, to know how far to take the pose, challenging yourself but avoiding injury. Use your breath to assist with your awareness. Are you feeling this pose in your hamstring? Is there any tension behind the knee? Are you feeling any pressure in your lower back? Are your shoulders hunching? Lifting up and out of the hips. Find space in the pose to allow you to come further into the pose. Chest stays open, gaze forward. Inhale to lift up into a low lunge. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale to high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale and exhale. Being aware that Adho Mukha is a super resting pose if you need to rest. Inhale, look towards the hands. Exhale, step or jump to the top of your mat. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, reach the arms high, salute the sun. And then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step the right foot back into a lunge. Inhale, reach through the crown of the head and exhale into pyramid pose, keeping your torso connected to your leg. So keep the left knee bent if you need to in order to make this happen, to avoid rounding your lower back. Inhale to bend back into the left knee, light on your fingertips and your toes, and switch the feet, getting as much height as you can from the mat. Inhale into praying mantis pose, lifting the left knee high, arms extended above. Variations, knee can stay bent, left hand on the knee, otherwise pistol grip your left big toe and extend the leg out in front. On your exhalation, take the foot or the knee out to the side, opening up through the hips, reaching your right hand in the opposite direction and taking your gaze to follow, to challenge your balance. Right hand back to the hip, foot or knee back to center. Hold, lean forward, be strong, and then moving in slow motion, come into a standing split. Left foot reaches high as you straighten the leg, working your chin to the shin. Feel free to bring your left hand on your calf, perhaps your right for bonus points. Hands back to the mat, keep your left foot lifted and hop your right foot to the back of the mat, extending into your three-legged dog. Open up the hips again and exhale. Left knee to left wrist on the mat, dropping your back knee and tucking the back toes as we make our way into half pigeon. Again, adapt the pose to suit you. If there is tension in your left knee joint or ankle, reduce the angle of the front knee or come out of the pose and choose an alternative glute stretch. To enhance the stretch, wriggle your left shin further forward so that it becomes parallel with the top of your mat. Adjust so that you are positioned directly over your front shin without leaning to one side. Inhale to lift and lengthen, and exhale, hinging at the hips, folding forward, straight spine. Work the right hip gently down, wriggle your back toes away, stretch out as much as you can, envisaging yourself flattening completely against the floor to deepen the stretch in your left glute, hips, inner thigh, groin, and hip flexor. Be aware of where you are feeling the stretch here. Bend the right knee, take hold of the foot and draw the heel towards the body. Stretch the quadricep now. Release the foot with control. Tuck those back toes under and come into your three-legged dog. Inhale, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, back bend. If you're working into upward facing dog, keep the legs lifting away from the mat to avoid excess pressure on your lower back. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, look towards the hands. Exhale, step or jump to the top of the mat. Inhale, look forward, weight forward. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, reach the arms up to the sky to standing. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, extend the spine. Exhale, plant the hands and step the left foot into a lunge. Straightening through the right knee, find your pyramid pose. Working the left hip gently down to even out the hips. Inhale back into your low lunge. Find lightness as you switch the feet. Inhaling into praying mantis. Relax the left toes, relax your face. Bending the right knee or straightening through the right leg as you pistol grip the right big toe. Inhale to prepare and exhale, foot to the right. Left hand out to the side followed by your gaze. Optional. Inhale, head back to center, followed by the foot. Hands on the hips, imagine you are moving through mud now as you fold forward at the hips and lift the right foot into the air, extending through the toes. Fingertips drift to the ground in your standing split. If you're practicing outside like me, use the wind to your advantage. Challenge yourself even more by adapting your pose to counteract the effects of the wind while still maintaining the integrity of the pose. The wind is a challenge, not a deterrent. Breathe in your balance. Be aware if you start holding your breath. When you're ready, jump your left foot back and release your right leg into the air, opening up the hips. Exhale to bring your right knee to your right wrist on the mat, setting up for half pigeon on the other side. Flex the right toes back towards your right shin to protect your right knee. Come into the pose when ready and finding the comfort in the discomfort. Use this cocoon that you've created to reconnect with your breath if you've lost it. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Inhale to walk the hands back towards the shin. Bend the left knee, heel towards the body. Exhale to release, working in your own breath, in your own time. Coming into your three-legged dog again, opening up the hips with the option to drift into your wild thing, flipping the dog over so that your right foot comes to the ground behind you, taking your right arm up and over. Lift the hips high, let the neck release. An amazing counter pose to sitting in a chair. Exhale to come out the way you came in, downward dog. Feel free to move through a chaturanga transition here. Downward facing dog again. Inhale, look towards the hands. Exhale to jump, crossing the legs in midair to come into a seated position on the mat. Bring the left foot to the outside of your right knee. Optional to bend the right knee here. However, if the left sitting bone lifts up, keep the right leg straight in the pose. Take your left fingertips behind you for support. Inhale to reach the right hand high. Find space between the vertebrae of the spine. And exhale to take the elbow over the knee, closing the gap again between torso and leg. If there's no space here, feel free to find a half bind, taking your left hand to the right hip or a full bind, reaching your right arm in between the legs to grip the left wrist. Binds are a useful technique in yoga to increase the opening through the shoulders, with a strong focus on posture and tension release in the shoulders, upper back and neck. Inhale, head back to center first, followed by the rest of the body. Bring the sole of the left foot onto the inside of your right leg. Inhale to lift and lengthen through the crown of the head, centering your torso over the right leg, and exhale to hinge forward again at the hips. The spine does not round. The movement is coming from your hips. A great technique is to keep the palms planted next to your hips as you lean forward so that you avoid rounding in the shoulders. Keep the chest open. If your torso has connected with the leg, you might like to take a block to the sole of the right foot to deepen the pose. Relax into the pose. Inhale to lift gently back up, and with fluid movements, plant your left palm to the ground behind you, underneath your left shoulder, and pointing your right toes, lifting up onto your left knee. Take your right arm up and overhead, opening the heart to the sky, lifting the hips. Exhale to come out the way you came in. Setting up for our twist on the other side, right foot to the outside of the left knee. Inhale to prepare, looking forward to encourage the breath into the body, activating the diaphragm. And exhale, using the breath to float into your seated twist, taking the right elbow over the knee. Tuck the chin in as you look down at your shoulder, plant the sitting bones firmly into the mat, and release your fingertips behind you to lever you deeper into the pose. Exhale to release and bring your right sole onto the inside of your left leg. Inhale to extend through the crown of the head, creating space between the vertebrae, and exhale to enter the forward fold. Do a quick scan of the body, and if any tension forms in the lower back, it means you have come too far and the spine is starting to round. Keep the integrity of the pose. Lift up and lengthen, then gently come back into the pose, not going quite as far until the hamstrings have released some more. Working the right side of the torso down towards the ground on every exhalation to ensure that it stays parallel with the mat. To assist, you may even like to bring your right hand to the outside of your left foot or calf muscle. Feel the stretch in your hamstring and perhaps your calf. Inhale to lift back up, plant the right palm behind you, and inhale to lift your hips skywards, deepening the breath as you open the chest. Exhale to release out of one of my favorite heart opening poses. Double pigeon time. Bring the left ankle onto the right knee and align your right ankle directly underneath your left knee. So wiggle it out further if need be. This is important to protect the joints and ensure that you're getting the stretch in your glutes. Imagine you're stacking firewood, shins in line with one another. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, hinge forward. Lift out of the pose if you feel any tension in your knee or ankle joints and come into your figure 4 stretch. Inhale to lift out of the pose and set up with your right ankle on the left knee. Right knee above the left ankle. Work with your own breath, and on your next exhalation, drop into the pose. Try and relax your face, although hard to do here. And enjoy the rush of oxygenated blood back into your glute muscles as you lift out of the pose. Straighten the legs out in front and give them a little shake. Inhale and then exhale, roll with control down to the mat, taking the arms overhead as you inhale deeply and then exhale out through the mouth. Hug the knees into the chest. Let's come into happy baby pose. So take hold of the outsides of the feet, lifting the soles like you're walking on the sky. Draw your knees down towards your armpits and keep your lower back on the mat. Rocking gently from side to side, stretch the lower back, draining any fluid retained in your feet. Bring the feet back to the ground as you exhale. Take the feet hip width apart and walk the heels in so that you can lightly brush the heels with your fingertips. Place your left ankle on the right knee, flexing the left toes back towards the shin to protect the knee joint, inhaling into your back bend. Lift your hips into the air, working into a hip opening variation of bridge pose. Exhale to release the spine back down to the mat, vertebrae by vertebrae. Hug your right knee into the chest, figure 4 stretch, pushing your left knee away with your left elbow to deepen this glute stretch. Cross your left leg over your right so that the knees are aligned. Take hold of the feet or the shins and then lift the feet high as you draw them towards your face. Feel the pirifomis and glute stretch out. Release the feet, arms out wide, and exhaling when you're ready into your twist. Feel the release of lingering tension in the lower back as we increase the circulation to this part of the body. And feel the heat being created as we also energize the body by stimulating the nervous system that runs along the spine. Inhale, head back to center, followed by the knees. Working onto the other side, set up in your foundation for bridge pose, and then bring the right ankle onto the left knee. Inhale to lift the hips and take your right knee down towards the ground without losing the alignment of your hips. Open up the chest. Feel the stretch through the shoulders as you press the back of your head gently into the mat to protect the neck. Exhale to release, and then keeping your ankle on the knee, hug the left knee into the chest for a glute stretch. Relax your shoulders down towards the mat. Activate through the feet. Crossing your right leg over your left so that the knees meet. Lift the feet high and then draw them towards your face to enhance the stretch. Release the hands, arms out shoulder height. And as you exhale, take the knees to the left, looking across to your right. Deepening the twist by taking the knees closer up towards your arm. Inhale, head back to center, followed by your knees. Hug the knees back into the chest and release the lower back. Lift up your hips and place the block under your lower back. Lift the legs straight up into the air. Adjust the block so that it feels comfortable and is supporting your lower back. Toes drifting slightly overhead. Not only is this a lower back stretch, but you should also feel an extension through the hamstrings. Let's add in a shoulder opener, taking the arms overhead, holding on to opposite elbows. A popular pose of mine when I get home from work. On that note, try and incorporate some of these yoga poses into your everyday life to really feel the benefits. While we're here, why not scrunch up the toes and roll the ankles in a circle in one direction? After 5 breaths, roll in the opposite direction. This could be where you stay for Shavasana today, closing down the eyes, keeping the mind present. Otherwise, you can hug the knees into the chest, bring the feet down onto the mat, lift up the hips and move the block lower so that it's underneath your bottom. Stretch out the legs along the ground. Take the arms back up and overhead, and like you are butter melting over the block, let go and relax. Notice how your body feels now compared to the start of class. Notice the exhaustion in the muscles from our yoga sequence that is allowing you to take full advantage of Shavasana. This is the most important pose of our asana practice. This pose allows our body to absorb all the nutrients and oxygenated blood created by our flow to reach every cell in the body, wash every cell in the body. As we slow down the body, increasing blood flow to the brain, lowering blood pressure, reducing anxiety and relieving headaches. Mentally scan all parts of your body for any remaining muscular tension. And then consciously release any tension that's found. If you're lucky to be practicing outside, feel the breeze on your face, listen to the waves rolling up the shore. Inhale, start awakening the body, bringing life gently back into the fingers and the toes. Perhaps taking your arms up overhead for a lovely big stretch. Reach through the toes, stretch through the fingers. And then gently hugging the knees into the chest, release the lower back one more time. Tucking the chin in, crossing one ankle over the other, start to rock and roll gently on the mat. To come up to a seated position, crossing the ankles, bringing the hands into Anjali Mudra, keeping the eyes closed. Namaste. Now, aside from practicing yoga, I am a big foodie fan. I love knowing where my food comes from. I love following the from paddock to plate journey of foods. And I love knowing the nutritional benefits of foods and what they can do for me. Now, it's these foods that we can also use to improve muscle stretching along with our yoga practice. Foods like blueberries that have anti-inflammatory properties which can help muscles recover. Things like water, particularly coconut water. Keeping your fluids topped up is key if you want to stay flexible. Our muscles are largely composed of water, and it's this water content that is key for muscle elasticity. And so keeping this in mind, here is one of my favorite smoothie recipes that I am so excited to be able to share with you. Enjoy. And I look forward to seeing you on the mat again soon.